You know, there used to be a time when, if you were a fan of the Japanese animation, you had to resort to some pretty desperate lengths to try and get a hold of anything that wasn't a handful of sanitized, badly rewritten shows that were available out here in the Western Hemisphere. And I do mean desperate. I remember a friend and I having to watch Full Metal Alchemist through a bootleg DVD rip he'd managed to acquire, complete with utterly horrendous and highly meme-worthy subtitles, and this was still a hell of a lot better than what was available elsewhere. But the internet, as it has a habit of doing, went and changed everything. Though torrents and fan subs were initially the primary means by which a lot of burgeoning weebs scratched the anime itch, it was never going to be long before some Silicon Valley startup spotted a potential market and got to work disrupting. Enter Crunchyroll, founded in 2006 by a gaggle of Berkeley graduates as a means of hosting anime series online. Though a lot of their early video content was fan-subbed, and therefore of dubious legality, it wasn't long before they were able to start securing streaming rights to a whole host of shows they could begin to offer users. It worked. Fast forward to 2018 and Crunchyroll has a worldwide user base of around 35 million people, 1 million of which pay a $7 a month fee to be able to access the content on offer earlier and in higher definition. The majority of the most hyped anime series of the season find their way onto this platform, and Crunchyroll has branched out into other ventures, including their anime awards and the inevitable Crunchyroll Expo convention. Much praise has been given to the way in which Crunchyroll aims to support and fund the anime industry, offering paying users something of a feel-good subscription. Pay to get access to shows you want to watch and support an industry you love. Of course, you may also have heard that not everyone's happy with Crunchyroll at the minute. Recent announcements by the company regarding new projects and studios has sections of the anime-inclined interwebs up in arms, and inevitably there's more than a few people angrily defending Crunchyroll in response. Much of the argument that's been swirling about online stems from whether Crunchyroll deserves to be supported, and whether they even truly support the industry as much as they claim to. These are interesting questions, but it's kinda tricky to get them answered when we're all busy yelling at each other. So Rob and I figured we'd take a proper look at the service Crunchyroll provides as of late 2018, its merits as well as its flaws, and mostly just point out how everyone needs to calm the fuck down. I'm sure it's gonna win us loads of friends. Okay, let's kick things off with one of the biggest issues you'll see raised about Crunchyroll and the service it offers to its 35 million users. It still uses fucking Flash Player. Once upon a time, Flash really was the cutting edge for disseminating video content online. That was a very long time ago. These days, it's a laggy, bug-riddled throwback to a bygone age, riddled with all manner of glitches and security vulnerabilities. We're now at the stage where even Adobe, the guys who make the goddamn software, acknowledge that Flash has largely been made redundant by HTML5 and plan to retire it by 2020. Basically every major streaming service the world over has moved on and left this software behind. Every streaming service except Crunchyroll, that is. Despite numerous promises that HTML5 support would be rolled out for the start of 2018, Crunchyroll has repeatedly failed to deliver on a modern and up-to-standard platform through which users can watch their content. Instead, we're left with a video player that, amongst other things, loads slowly, frequently breaks, crashes if you leave a video paused too long, lacks the ability to scroll through a video accurately, won't let you take a video back to the start once it's begun, doesn't allow you to adjust the quality or size. That's just some of the grumbles. In the wake of the passionate feedback they've received regarding their new Crunchyroll Originals plans,
no, there's no justice like angry mob justice.
They've put out an update on their HTML5 player, promising a full rollout by September 2018, which is better late than never, I guess. Even though they've been promising this new player for ages at this point, fan-made plugins have existed for months that embarrassingly did Crunchyroll's job for them, and initial feedback from beta testers of the new player is that it's still kind of garbage. Honestly, of all the criticisms Crunchyroll has been receiving lately, this is probably one of the most legitimate. A multi-million-dollar company offering a premium service really doesn't have an excuse for goofing this hard for this long, and it really makes you wonder what the hell's going on behind the scenes that's allowed this to happen. Well, about that. Figuring out what's going on behind closed doors at a multi-million-dollar company isn't always the easiest of tasks, but the internet gives us plenty of opportunities for insight. Reports and articles from tech journals, public announcements by Crunchyroll and feedback from both current and former employees gives us an idea of what's been happening over the last couple of years. And honestly, it helps to explain a lot. Crunchyroll isn't simply its own company anymore. It's now part of a larger umbrella company called Elation as of 2015 that can trace its corporate roots all the way up to AT&T. We're not talking about a plucky startup anymore. Elation is likely the reason behind the big push by Crunchyroll for use of their VRV streaming platform, a general repository of geek media that several people have accused the company of prioritizing over their own video player. The transition from standalone Crunchyroll to big media company Elation has clearly brought with it a number of challenges, and thanks to websites such as Glassdoor, we can actually get an idea of how it's affected the company from employees in their own words. Let's start with a review from a former employee of Elation from July of last year entitled "A Strangely Compelling but Horribly Flawed Place to Work."
Astroturfing reviews aside, this company has undoubtedly the worst communicating leadership I've ever seen in my over 10 years in tech. There are almost no talented engineers left in San Francisco, leaving you to coordinate with a team based in Moldova. Management has broken promises over and over again that San Francisco team schedules would not be affected. Imagine all your tech stack, tech leads, and plain old production engineers are 6,000 miles away. Now realise that there's also a big time difference, non-native English difficulties and the production problems that come when you're trying to build a new product. Now imagine reviewing code and not hearing back about changes or fixes until 12 hours later, and multiply this by every day, and you have this huge talented ball of problems, all because management saw engineers as replaceable robots.
This is one of many pretty negative reviews of Elation, but one that offers a real insight into what's going on behind the scenes at the company. Reviews for Crunchyroll aren't much better. Here's a review from a former employee in January 2018 entitled "The Most Demoralizing Tech Company in Silicon Valley That I've Ever Worked For."
Very old and outdated system, infrastructure and mindsets. No attempt at retaining talent. Crunchyroll lives off of passion pay, basically exploiting the fans who are lured to come work here over other places that offer much better lifestyle, pay and career growth. 100% top-down approach to every decision ever. Leadership and decision making very much removed from the actual audience demographic. No real ways to voice concerns or speak up about anything.
Another highly negative review from a former employee stresses Crunchyroll is Elation, read the Elation reviews.
Crunchyroll is not a separate company. It's a product that the company Elation maintains. The business team for Crunchyroll are somewhat separated, though they're still in the same office. But engineering and many other departments are all part of Elation proper. Read the Glassdoor reviews for Elation, they don't bode very well. Petty politics and sabotage have resulted in layoffs for some of the most senior and well-respected engineers, part of the company's growing by buying up its outsourcing partners, whose CEO was conveniently also the interim CTO of Elation at the time. Now the rest of the senior engineers and lots of other people are leaving. There's a huge amount of distrust between ground level employees and management.
Glassdoor isn't the only resource we have available when it comes to getting an idea of what's going on at the company. In a Reddit thread from March 2018 discussing the many issues surrounding Crunchyroll's subpar service and missed deadlines, several users claiming to be both former and current employees chipped in to offer their insights. Whilst it's natural to be skeptical of anonymous claims made online, the claims made by these Reddit users match those made on Glassdoor, so I'm inclined to give them a fair hearing.
Former product manager and developer for the Crunchyroll web and console apps here. User-facing features on the Crunchyroll website was my sole responsibility for a couple of years, and a lot of the mess you're reading about on Glassdoor happened. When Crunchyroll was invested in by the Chernin Group and later became Elation, upper management made a conscious and wildly unpopular decision to invest all resources in the platform known today as VRV, and subsequently stopped all the development improvements in the Crunchyroll website and servers, perhaps with only the exception of some video processing tech. Sounds like there was an instantaneous decision, but it was more like a 6 to 9 months period of all resources and developers slowly being moved off Crunchyroll projects and reassigned to VRV. Then finally the decree was handed down in a rather depressing all-hands meeting. No new features development on Crunchyroll. This was back in 2016. Maybe it's changed now, I can't say, just giving context here. Despite many attempts to sneak in new features and improvements, if the work wasn't somehow applicable to VRV, upper management didn't want to hear it. It was extremely discouraging for much of the dev team, who, like myself, were passionate anime fans and did care about end users' experience. Ultimately, the majority of these individuals were laid off, and it was decided to outsource engineering efforts to Moldova and left the company for the above and other reasons just before the layoffs happened.
Putting all these reviews, posts, and responses together, we quickly get a picture of a company going through a period of rapid growth in which upper management decided to shift focus from established norms to new platforms. They did so without the feedback or approval of many employees who'd been with the original company for a long time, and responded with a heavy hand to any dissenting voices. The result was a loss of talent, the decay of old infrastructure, and ultimately the missed deadlines on a number of promises made to users. This attitude from Crunchyroll and Elation's upper management also explains why they're happy to announce projects like Elation Studios even when their established services really aren't in a great place. Though, since I mentioned it. Look, if you've watched any of this shit we've made for this channel, you know we like us a good meme here at We Heart Giant Robots. And the announcement of Elation Studios was kinda memes. Sure, High Guardian Spice looks like some weird combination of Steven Universe and Little Witch Academia, and is clearly not a show that's been conceived with people like me in mind. Here's the thing though, that's okay. Not every piece of media needs to be made with my interest in mind. Hell, most anime isn't made with my interest in mind, and that's fine as well. High Guardian Spice isn't my kind of shit, I probably won't watch it, but if it's your kind of shit, you do you, my dude. And if it's not, well, I don't know, maybe don't watch it? No one's forcing you. I mean, there's plenty of fucking degenerates out there who watch stuff like Oreimo and Eromanga Sensei, but somehow this is the thing that's ruined Crunchyroll as a platform for people? Way to pick the right hill to die on, my dudes. What's more, Crunchyroll investing in a studio that will be able to produce exclusive content for them is a really savvy move on their part. You need but look to Netflix Originals to see what it can do for a company. If this plays out well, it gives them the opportunity to bankroll other shows in the future. And who knows, maybe one of those shows will be my kind of thing, or yours. In which case, we've benefited from the creation of Elation Studios. Finally, we come to one of the stranger claims I've seen made towards Crunchyroll, which is that it doesn't really support the anime industry at all. This argument actually goes all the way back to 2013, as far as I was able to trace it, and posits that between Crunchyroll's server costs, infrastructure, staff costs, and other ventures, there's really not a whole lot left of a Crunchyroll premium subscription that actually goes back to the studios making the shows people want to support. Except that's kinda stupid. This argument only really works if you assume that Crunchyroll only gets its income from premium subscriptions. It doesn't factor in profits from other ventures, brand deals, adverts, and larger companies investing in them. You know, like what happened with Elation. This means that plenty of the cash you do pony up for a premium subscription does wind up going to the studios whose shows you watch. Just last year, over $100 million in royalties went back into the industry as a result of Crunchyroll. It also doesn't consider the fact that Crunchyroll often directly invests in shows and studios to get them off the ground, helping to produce series that wouldn't have otherwise existed without the support they've provided. Amidst all the to-do about Elation Studios, it's important to remember they also announced the opening of a new studio in Tokyo that will be producing more original content for the site. I mean, I don't know what else you could call this other than supporting the industry. Sure, there are other methods for fans to show their support. Blu-rays and merch remain one of the major sources of income for studios in Japan, though as Crunchyroll CEO Kun Gao pointed out back in 2013, there's a lot of middlemen taking a cut when buying such products internationally. And some studios have cool new approaches for gaining funding online, like Trigger's Patreon account. These are all totally valid. It all helps. Everyone give themselves a big pat on the back. You're all great. Well done. Stop fucking yelling at each other. Jesus. Look, at the end of the day, Crunchyroll is not a perfect service. There's a number of flaws that need to be pointed out and voiced so they can get their asses in gear and fix them. It's not a perfect company either, growing far too quickly and without first setting their own house in order. These are valid criticisms to make, and I'm sure there are others that I haven't mentioned here. But these criticisms don't change the fact that Crunchyroll has still made a lot of contributions to the anime industry, and that it offers people an opportunity to watch content legally and for a pretty reasonable price. The company opening up a new studio and announcing a show you think looks like dog shite doesn't change that fact. I get it. We like things to be nice and simple online. We like things to be clear-cut. It's why social media scrapped point systems for upvotes and downvotes. It's why everything has to be either pure evil or the second coming of Jesus Christ in digital form. All that doesn't leave a lot of room for nuance, and that's often what these arguments need. Thanks for watching. We're gonna get back to yelling about Mecca now.